City of Prairie View City Council meeting will now come to order. September 9th, 2019 at 6:04 p.m. Ms. Bynum, would you certify the quorum, please?
Councilmember Rowland,
Present.
Councilmember Randall, Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Williams, here, Councilmember Wallace.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. And if we can now have the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Wallace, would you do us the honor of a brief invocation?
Of course. Okay, everyone close their eyes and bow your head for a word of prayer. Lord, gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this blessed opportunity to be here today, Lord. Ask that you just continue to watch over us, Lord, so that we may be efficient in this meeting, Lord, and do the things that need to be done to move the city forward. And through your grace and will, we say in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we could have a brief moment of silence in deference to the tragedy that Hurricane Dorian has done throughout the Caribbean and along the East Coast, particularly how hard those in the Bahamas and other places like that were hit. Thank you. And Ron Leverett, citizen comments.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I would like to I guess start where I left off in my last meeting. I think this is the third request. This time I'm officially going to leave the Secretary the item on the Freedom of Information, Chapter 552 of the Code. It has to do with, again, I asked, it's related to the gifts to the city. We addressed the gifts as related to the dogs, but again, Mr. Mayor, I'm specifically asking in my document exactly what it is that I'm requesting. And I think I said, I know I'm saying, if we don't have the answer, I need to know why we don't have it. I think that's honorable. We have all the reports. I saw the mayor's report. I guess you did right, and I don't think that, I'm sure you're probably not going to read every item because some of the items that they are very clear. So I think that has to do with streamlining the council agenda. And I noticed that the council agenda is a little bit shorter than normal. I think it's 2 pages this time. So hopefully we'll be able to get out of here at a decent time. One thing that I would ask the council to do, when I was a part of 4B, the time that I was departed from the 4B I was asking for a forensic audit. I would like to request that the city council, you're in the budget season, and I think that it's pertinent, and it's timely that, since that we're discussing finances and expenditures of funds, a forensic audit, not the audit that's given to the auditors, but a forensic audit. And I think all of you know, I'm sure all of you know what a forensic audit is, and I think that that would clear up some of the misconceptions that probably some of us have. Item 3, I'm not sure about, and I really hope that we explain item 3 about the high-speed rail. I attended a meeting last year, and I thought that situation was solved, so I would hope to hear a new legislation on it apparently, and the council's disapproval, whatever the position is, I guess I would like to know, because I thought that that had been solved. So I'm open to listen to that. With that, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Barbara Manuel?
Good afternoon, Alan and the councilman. I'm here in reference to my water bill. I haven't gotten an answer yet since, 2-3 months ago? So what do I need to do? You have to respond in writing?
During citizen comments, we're not supposed to engage in dialogue,
I did read that,
but,
right?
but
Okay.
yeah, but you can put your request in and I'll be back to respond to it. We've had conversations on this issue, so it's no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Ashley Jackson?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor Allen, Councilman, citizens of Prairie View, and guests. I have a question that's very important. Mayor Allen, I'm asking, who was at the negotiating table when Panther Hill was talked about? Who were the ones at the table that said this is a good idea and it should be done this way? I want to know that because it's important, because it's been a failure. And I saw in your mayoral report, you put a parent complaint about health and safety in Brookside Apartments. But through this past year, you haven't reported about the health and safety on Panther Hill Apartments. And there's over 500 students over there. But yet your name remains on the sign. So I want to know, who was the negotiator? Who was the one sitting at the table advocating for the students and the senior citizens of this community? Who were the ones at the table? I want to know. Because that's important to know, because they messed up. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Isis Collins?
How's it going tonight, everybody? My name is Isis Collins. Hello to everybody up here. I'm not going to take up too much time. I just want to keep it simple. Many people, students, parents, councilmen, a lot of people here have been requesting the proper report for engineering at Panther Hill Apartments. There's been a lot of information going around about how unhealthy and how terrible Panther Hill was built. And just like Ashley said, I think it's crazy that you have Brookside here that's been here forever. But the newest property, the newest thing to come up to be shelter for students, there's no safety protocol here, no, the students are at risk over there. It's pretty clear. So your name is on the posters, on the flyers. You came to the school last year and promoted this like real PR type thing. We need some answers on this. It's getting bad. So, yeah. So, if you really love this community like you say you do or you act like you do, it's time to put some paperwork in our faces. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Ruger?
Good evening, council. I have a couple of things I want to say, and I'm going to start by saying perhaps we should take a page from Ruth Simmons' personality. I've been to several things that she's been in attendance, participated in, and always she states that if you feel the need that you have to put forth your title, then you are no longer working for the good of all, you're promoting yourself. So maybe we could take a page from that and work for everybody. This is for you as the council, for these people that come to do public comments. Maybe we need to not promote personal, but do for the good of all. The next thing I'd like to talk about, I see on the report that you have block grants again. I've talked to you before about the park on Ellen Powell. When I moved here, there was a great big huge sign that was a block grant renovation for that park of some $750,000 or $1 million. The only thing that I know that was done is you made the pump house into a brick room instead of a wooden room. You still can't use the park. You don't have bathrooms, you don't have water. We promoted that we put new lights in the park, which I see no purpose for. Those lights could have gone to eliminate the city in the dark areas and the high crime rate, or down my street where you have all elderly. But we put the lights there, and still, I will say, in all the times that I've lived here, there is a handful of people, truly a handful of people, one hand, that use that park. When you see that park used, it is almost always from the fire department. They're the only ones who have the keys. They don't even use the water. As long as I've lived in this city, that water feature has been unavailable. You've now let the covering, so you don't even have a shade to go there. So what kind of follow-up do you do when you do these block grants? Because I've gotten the paperwork where engineers have signed off on drainage. Ask your maintenance people about the drainage. There is no such thing. So all of this was done, and still it's unusable. So this is something for you to think about. I've never seen it on the agenda, no matter how many times I talked to you about it. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you. Rita Brown?
Mr. Mayor, I wanted to get clear on, because I have comments about 3 different things.
Okay, we can, right before we get to those, you can speak on those
On the
items,
agenda
agenda
items,
items?
right.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
and then I have one item that's not on the agenda, but I want to be clear about it.
I want to ask for clarification. Yeah, she gets 9 minutes basically to talk about the item, right? Because we didn't approve person, well, citizens speaking before each agenda item, we approve to keep it at the beginning of the meeting.
So what we had discussed is for non-agenda items, they would still get the original 3 minutes. And for agenda items, depending if there was one agenda item, they would get 3 minutes then. And if they wanted to speak to 2 or 3, they would get 3 minutes per agenda item is what we discussed.
And that's
You have-
based on the new law.
The concept is based on the new law. You have not yet approved the actual ordinance that does that. You were just given direction and it's on tonight's agenda to actually have your approval of that.
Okay.
But the concept we had talked about a few meetings ago was citizen comments at the beginning remains 3 minutes. And then right before the agenda items, anyone who had signed up for that specific agenda item would have 3 minutes toward that item.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold on, let's slow down.
There's been nothing
So,
approved.
so we haven't approved it, we had a discussion, but right now we're following,
What we've been doing, which is the
following,
3 minutes.
no, right now we're following the spirit of the law. The law said that you could speak in front of, the decision was made, hold on, the decision was made to have it all done up with citizen comments. But we haven't voted on that piece yet. I mean, is that what I'm hearing, council?
Yeah.
So,
It's on agenda, but
It
the
is-
discussion,
so we-
now we have the resolution or ordinance has not been voted on. So right now, we're going with the spirit of the law, where someone gets to speak before that item.
how could we currently be doing? Yeah, can we continue with what we currently been doing since?
Well, that's gonna be a problem for me, cause I
Hold
talked with the
on,
attorney.
hold on. If you haven't been recognized, what you're saying doesn't matter. and
You
can't
called me
be
up here,
removed.
Mr.
No,
Mayor.
but you're talking, we're not
I
talking
asked a
just now.
question.
And we're answering the question.
Well, then
Let
I
us
was
answer it.
recognized.
Then let us answer
Well,
it.
then I was recognized.
No, you were answered earlier. We're addressing your question. Let us address it.
My question.
Right, but we're not with you yet. Counselor, please.
So the law says that prior to an agenda item coming on the meeting, a citizen will have a chance to speak. The decision for the council is at the beginning of the meeting or immediately prior to the agenda item. My understanding, and now I've drafted the ordinance, which will be considered later this evening, is that non-agenda items remain at the beginning, and that when the agenda items are called, you're gonna call them up individually if they've signed up for that time. If that's not what council wants to do, we don't have to pass that. That is how I had indicated it to the audience as they signed up tonight, that it would be handled, that they would speak right prior to the agenda item if they signed up for that agenda item prior to the meeting.
Okay, so
And,
tonight,
and hold on. We only have one person.
Yes.
We're spending more time, and she would have been finished on this one, and we move on to the other. So she's got 2 agenda items. So when we get to those, she'll address them, and we'll get through this, and we'll also be voting, or not voting, to continue that process.
yes, sir.
But let's get through it right now. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we're just asking for clarification purposes.
Mhm.
That's all. So if tonight you had already told the citizens in which they could do it, then we have no problem. Only thing, we just asking for clarification purposes only. So, thank you.
Okay, on your non-agenda item,
Okay, so we're
and then
clear
you'll get to
on
the others.
when the other 2 items come.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanna make
Speak.
sure.
Okay, speak on the non-agenda item.
Okay, non-agenda item, I wanted to bring to the attention of city council, since you all did such a wonderful job in talking with the builders of Panther Hill Apartments about putting a fence around their retention pond. And I think within 24 hours after the request was made, that was done. And personally, I'd like to thank them for being so responsive. But second of all, I was looking at retention ponds in the area, happened to walk across the street to Brookside, and I noticed they have a deplorable retention pond. Not only are there fish and insects and tadpoles growing in it and jumping in and out, but it's a safety issue for the residents who live there, because I measured a distance of 4 feet from where students park their cars to where the decline starts to go into the retention pond. I took a picture of it. I'd like to share it with you all. And with the same excitement that you pursued the interests of the students who live in Panther Hill, I'm asking you to vigorously pursue that Because although no students parked around the retention pond in Panther Hill, this is a more of an immediate danger to the residents because
Ladies,
students.
hold up.
So,
No, let me tell you, if you don't stop in a public meeting, you will be
that was
removed.
very disrespectful.
slandering us.
That was very
No, no.
disrespectful.
In a public meeting, you do not
But
speak
you don't
at this
point at
point.
people, that's manners.
Would you?
That's fine, I'll leave.
Please.
That's fine. Don't
Now,
disrespect
finish.
people. That's the wrong thing to do.
Please, go ahead and finish. Got another minute and a half.
That makes me lose my train of thought. It sets me off, so let me start back.
Brookside retention pond.
The
is opposed
retention
to-
pond around Brookside is more dangerous to the residents who live in those apartments because students park along there. And I can imagine a student coming back from studying late or whatever and parking their car there or not putting on the emergency brake and the car sliding off. It's 4 feet. I walked off 4 feet before the decline starts into the pond. Now, they have a little stop there, but that's nothing that I would feel safe if I had a child living there to protect them from danger. So I'm asking with the same excitement and vigor that you pursued the construction people at Panther Hill, that you take that same energy.
Hold on, Mr. Leverett, you do not have permission to speak, counselor or not. No, it's a public meeting. As a former mayor, you know you're not supposed to be speaking like that. Please. Yes, ma'am. Finish up.
It
It's
breaks the
unsafe. We
momentum.
got that. I know.
It's unsafe.
That's why it's not supposed to happen.
And I would like for you guys
Yes, ma'am.
to use that same energy, that same diplomacy you use to make sure that the residents who live in Brookside are afforded the same safety. I also had a parent who met me at Panther Hill who was coming from Brookside, and they had to leave because when their students checked in, their room was full of bed bugs. And we had to take them over to Panther Hill, and we were able to get them a room. So I'm asking you to look out for all the students' interests.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Discuss and take action on the approval of city council meeting minutes dated August 26, 2019. What's council's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Jones.
Ms. Bynum, thank you for an outstanding, wonderful job that you do with our meeting minutes. But when it comes to item 11, just for record purposes, if we could take out the last, I guess, stanza of 4 votes to no. When we came back from executive session, that was the motion that we came out with. The line right after that. Councilmember Jones' motion, that motion was the motion I made when we came out of executive session.
Did you catch that, Ms. Bynum?
Yes.
You clear on what Councilman Jones is saying? So you're saying, which I see 2 votes under 11 in a sense, this one and this one?
Yeah, so,
Same one is correct?
yeah, this one is not theirs, it's right. When we did it up here, she said that the motion didn't get a second, that's right, but not for everyone to vote no, correct?
Okay, so that needs to be struck out?
Yeah.
That's what's, okay.
So where exactly are you on the page? You're on page 4?
1, 2, 3, third paragraph from the bottom. Fourth, if you count that last single sentence, where it shows the 4 no votes by council on that issue. Councilman Jones is saying that that's not a proper recording of the vote.
No, actually, she is right, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, because we had to come back out and we had to vote it down just to, all right, cool, so, all right, my bad. Great job. I said great job before I
You did
started.
better.
Okay.
Also, we never actually received the legislation for item number 5. That happened. With that, I accept I move that we accept the, August 26th, agenda minutes.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that August 26, 2019 minutes be accepted. You heard the motion, ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right. Motion passed. Yes, Councilman.
I just had a question in reference to an item that was on the agenda. If you look at the new business,
On the agenda,
it's on the minutes.
minutes, okay.
On the minutes, the last section, on the new business, the last item, that's clearly how, the, agenda item should have, remember where I talked to you earlier in reference to. So on our current agenda item, it discusses one thing, but this agenda item that we all pass.
Can you just state it?
You're referring to all the accounts
Yes, all
versus
the accounts.
prosperity?
Yes,
That I,
yeah, I was just making sure, what I had talked about. Because the agenda item says prosperity. This says all accounts the city has. And so if prosperity is all we have, then that, but I wanted it to be very clear on all versus just that one. So,
so the minutes reflect that, and when we get to that agenda item, we'll discuss that.
okay.
Thank you.
Item 2, discuss and take action on ordinance 2019-0826-002, amending the Prairie View Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, Article 1.500, City Council Rules of Procedure regarding departmental reports, public comments, Finance Committee, and general changes to council procedures.
I feel, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Jones.
Some updates have been made, following, some of the, sections, actually included in here. I see some sections scratched out, but not all. And then as well as with the, well, I guess would you want us to vote on that first before saying that we would like for you to change that?
Well, let me go through and make sure that you understand all the changes, because there's kind of 3 different topics here that, because they're all in the same ordinance, have all been brought together tonight, and they were from different city council meetings.
Okay.
So let me make sure we're kind of all on the same page. The first thing that was changed in here are the council procedures, and that's something that Attorney Zeck had been working with the city council and with Councilmember Rowland for quite some time, probably 6 months. So those are the first several pages of this. Some of it has to do with the change in order of the proceedings, and some of these are redundant with state laws, such as what the quorum is for the city council. So they were just deleted as being redundant with state law. They weren't changed. So that's the first portion of it. The second portion is the citizen comment portion, which, as I look at it, it's what I had taken away from the meeting, and if it's incorrect, we can fix it. But what it says is not exactly what I told you a minute ago. What it is 3 minutes for non-agenda items, and then 3 minutes for the total of any agenda items.
So it reflects that here?
I'm sorry?
It reflects that in here?
It reflects that in here,
Okay.
but it is 3 minutes at the beginning for non-agenda items, and then as the agenda item is taken up, whoever has signed up for that agenda item gets to speak. But regardless of how many agenda items they've signed up for, it's a total of 3 minutes is what would be here. The only
3
exception
minutes
to
per
that,
agenda item.
no,
Oh,
total
3.
of 3 minutes for all agenda items. So if they sign up for 24 agenda items, they get a total of 3 minutes,
Gotcha.
okay? So the only exception to that is a public hearing, and of course, those have their own separate rules. So if you want to change and fix that, I'm no pride here. You know, that's just what I thought I heard coming out of the last meeting. Now let me just go over the last thing real quick, and then we can come back to each of the issues, is the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee, I took what I heard from the City Council, and I compared that with the city charter to make sure that we were passing a legal ordinance, so it doesn't read exactly as you had it. So a couple of things here. As you know, in your city charter, the council creates the committee, and the mayor appoints the committee with the approval of the city council. So I took that concept into consideration here. The other thing that you said is you want it to be a permanent committee, so that means it's a standing committee of the city council. So I kind of tweaked that language. And what it is 3 members of the city council and you had named people to be on this, and you can't name them because they're appointed by the mayor. So what I changed that to read is 2 ex officio members, consisting of appropriate city staff as appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. Since that time, I've had a little discussion with the mayor as to whether or not J.J. Johnson, which is the person you talked about, who is technically a consultant and not city staff, would fit into that particular definition. And I don't really think he would, so you might want to tweak that language if that's the sort of person you're looking for. We may not say staff, we might say, you know, staff or appointed and or consultants of the city, you know, whatever you think best. But, so those are the 3 topics that are in this ordinance. And I'm happy to change anything you want.
Okay, Councilmember Rowland was first, go ahead.
Thank you, Attorney. 2 questions I had. One, I sent an email on the departmental reports. We have had that on. I work with Attorney Zach on this. I sent an email to include a couple things, and I sent it to you and Attorney Zach to add financial statements, whatever current month. Summary, actual versus budget, cash positions by available fund groups, general fund, balance sheet, and income statement as a standing report, which allows us to be able, if we have comments at that reporting period, we don't have to wait an additional 2 weeks to ask that question. And so that's why I sent that to you to add to departmental reports.
Okay,
And I also sent it to the mayor. The second piece is, you said something about the quorum. Where does it state, I think part of some of the strike-throughs, I think you said were redundant, and we're going with state law. Did we have where we stated those things versus where people have to go and look for it? Meaning, like, if a quorum for us is 3 city council members, is that in the document, where is that addressed specifically? So if a citizen wanted to pick up this ordinance, they don't have to try to find out what state law is. They can look at this document, because we kind of, in the old version we kind of like outlined everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that we're whatever state law is, but we want to be specific to where a citizen can pick up this document and know specifically what that number is. Is there a way we can do that, or you just think that we just need to leave it?
Let the record show that Councilman Rambo has joined us. Go ahead.
So you can do that. It was Attorney Zach's understanding that the redundancies in state law were coming out of here. So he had deleted that section of the the ordinance. It didn't state 3. It stated a majority of the council members, and then you had to compare it back to what is the council, is it the governing body, does it include the mayor, and then you have to go back to pretty much your formation of government to figure all that out anyway. So it wasn't